Getting things started with the story of a high school senior who lives in Mount Bellevue, Texas, and is desperate to get back to school after missing several days of class over a dress code dispute. 18-year-old DeAndre Arnold has been a student at Barbers Hill ISD his entire life and has been growing out his dreadlocks since about 10 years old. And for years, the Sanders family had no issues. But for some reason, back in December, DeAndre was told, get rid of the dreads or spend the rest of the year in school suspension, which would be DeAndre can't walk the graduation stage with the rest of his class. Joining me now to discuss this is DeAndre and his parents, Sandy and David. Glad to have you here on The Factor Uncensored. So your hairstyle is nothing new.
Nothing new at all. I've had it since 7th grade. It started growing in 7th grade summer, and from there we just been growing.
And so what happened? Who approached you and said you had to cut your hair?
So we had several meetings with the superintendent and the school board, and basically they fenced us in until our last option was to cut the hair. And that's what they have us right now.
All right. Mom, when you were told you had to cut your son's hair, who specifically told you you had to cut the hair and why?
Well, I was told by the principal.
At which school?
A high school.
The name of the high school?
Barbers Hill High School. I was told by the principal, in which I understand the principal, you know, has a job to do, and he has to enforce what the school board has put in place. And so what, and the superintendent, which is Greg Poole, and so I have done everything possible to try to, you know, appease them.
What did they specifically tell you?
Okay, what they told us was nothing at first. And then a few months went by and they said, you know, DeAndre, hair can't touch the collar, ears, or in the face. And so from that point on, and I mean, and it never really did, but I don't know where all that came from. So, because he's always had it up. He's always worn it up in some type of cornrows or something. And so then we were called into the office right before winter break, before the Christmas break, and was told basically DeAndre has to be in dress code when he comes back to school, or he would have to go to in-school suspension. And what they mean by dress code is his hair can't touch the collar or ears or eyes. And what the question that I ask is, but it never has, it's always up. So then what I was told was, well, when it's unencumbered, if it touches the, you know, the collar, ears, or and the eyes, then that's a violation. They say that you cannot go around the dress code by putting it up and that sort of thing. So we're at a standstill. So basically, everything that I've tried to do, I tried to work with them. I've tried to get on the school board, on the agenda, and talk with them. So the only thing left to do is to cut his hair, which, I mean, is a part of his heritage, culture. His dad is a Trinidadian. You know, that's who he is. I mean, how can I put him in a barber chair and just say, okay, DeAndre, in order for you to graduate, I need to cut your hair? Now,
let me ask you this. You had a conversation with someone with the Barbers Hill School District, and when you told them you wanted to meet with officials there about your son's hair, they told you something else related to another family.
Okay, so after I met with the Principal Kanya, and Mr. Kanya, I mean, he has tried his best, I have to say. He's tried his best to work with the family, DeAndre and myself and my husband. He has. However, again, he has to enforce what's been told. So after we met with Principal Kanya. I called over to Superintendent Poole's office and requested a meeting with him to discuss, you know, DeAndre's hair, because at that time...
We got to get to it. We got to get to it. What did he tell you?
He told me, well, Mandy Malone answered and said that Greg Poole refused to meet with me because he was already dealing with an Indian family for over a year, and the dress code is the dress code. So I said, are you telling me that Dr. Poole is refusing to meet with me? And she said, yes, I am. I said, okay.
All right, let's bring Dad into this conversation. For your son to go through this, and this is part of your heritage, not just something he's doing, how does that leave you feeling as a father?
Well, since we're on Isaiah Factor Uncensored, it really pisses me off because all my son wants to do is just graduate. And all these kids that he's been going to school with ever since elementary on up, and he doesn't smoke dope, he doesn't drink, he doesn't give him any problems whatsoever. He's an A student. All he wants to do is go to school and graduate. He has 3 months to graduate, and they keep jacking with him.
And I want to let the viewers know we reached out to these lazy bastards at the school district, and they have yet to respond. The superintendent has yet to respond. They only gave us, or we looked up their policy, and there you have it on the screen, but we have not heard back from the district, and we reached out to them multiple times. Now, this is a school district where there's only 3.1% African American.
Correct.
So they don't want to deal with it,
Exactly.
it appears.
Uh-huh.
So what is different this year than in the past, because you've had this hairstyle?
So over the course of the summer going over, my hair's grown. Of course, hair grows. And it's got to the point where it's hard to contain sometimes, but we figured out a way to braid it this way or cornrow it or put it up, but it's not good enough. Every time we do something, they always let it go for about a day or two, then they call me into the office and tell me how I'm out of dress code, just because if it was down, I would be out of dress code. Not because I'm out of dress code the way I am, but if it was down, then I'll be out of dress code. And that's what they're sticking with.
And, Mommy, we know there are some states now that have made it illegal to discriminate against people with certain ethnic hairstyles. And yet we can't get the message here in Texas.
Well, I mean, it's crazy to me because I haven't been able to get the message to anyone. And like I said, I've reached out to the school board, to try to talk to them, since the school board is who I'm told sets the dress code. Now, Mandy Malone told me that every time we were meet, Miss Arnold, I can assure you that, the dress code can't be changed. Miss Arnold, I can assure you they cannot change it in the middle of the school year. Lo and behold, December 16th, I show up at a board meeting in the open forum because they refuse to put me on the agenda to where I can actually get feedback. At the open forum, all I can do is talk, but there's no Q&A. I can just talk all day long, but nobody's going to answer. Therefore, on that day, there was a revised dress code. Well, Dr. Poole says, I said, but it would be nice if I could get a copy of that revised dress code, being my son is being directly affected. He goes, the dress code hasn't changed, Miss Arnold. Well, revised means either you've taken something away or you added to. And so they told me I needed to contact someone on the board. I've done that. We're
out of time, but we're going to continue to follow this story. We're not giving up yet. If this story is pissing you off as much as it is me, let the Barbers Hill School District know how we feel. Give them a call next week, Tuesday, after MLK Day. Get your pen ready and let the superintendent know, Greg Poole, and the district know you support DeAndre Arnold. The district number is 281-576-2221. Once again, 281-576-2221. It's a story that's making national headlines, and we were the first to break this report that has become a movement nationwide, all right here on The Factor Uncensored. And tonight, DeAndre Arnold is back to talk about the craziness that has been his life for the past month. DeAndre is a senior at Barbers Hills High School in Mount Bellevue, Texas, and he's in a dress code dispute with his school district over his dreadlock hairstyle. Now, despite growing them out for years, the Arnold family says just recently, Barbers Hill HISD said the locks had to be cut or DeAndre would have to go to in-school suspension, a move that would keep him from walking the graduation stage in May. And now DeAndre's younger cousin, Caden Bradford, is also being told the same thing. And despite showing up with his locks in braids on Monday, the 10th grader was told that wasn't good enough. Joining me now here on The Factor for an exclusive interview is both DeAndre Arnold and Caden Bradford. Glad to have you all back here on The Factor. It's been crazy for you. Obviously, being thrusted into the national limelight is not always fun.
It's not. It's actually really stressful, to be honest. But I mean, just got to deal with it. We got to get a spotlight on this issue because it's a real problem.
Now, how difficult has it been for you with your classmates, with your friends, with your family? Has anyone turned their back on you?
I wouldn't say that anybody turned my back on me because really all I've got was support. Nobody ever, came at me and said, it's just the rule, follow it. Nobody's ever told me that.
And what about your fellow classmates? What are they saying on social media to you?
Oh yeah, they would always say that we support you 100% and stuff like that, and that really validates it for me and kind of makes me think, yeah, I'm doing the right thing when I stand up against the school board like this.
Now, you were just told last week what happened in your case. Now, you've been in school for a while with your dreads as well.
Well, basically, I haven't been in school like the previous week, but last Tuesday I went in to see if I'd be able to go to classes, and basically they told me I'd be able to, but I'd have to be put in in-school suspension.
Do you think this is as a result of your cousin?
I think it's a result of my hair and how it's not in dress code, probably. That's why.
And do you think that's fair to you?
I don't think it's fair at all because my hair is part of who I am, and for me to cut it, it'd be like cutting me in half, basically.
And what about you? Have you had any second thoughts, or do you plan to continue to fight this, DeAndre?
Never gonna stop fighting this until we get to a resolution. Never.
To hear so many celebrities come forward, like Gabrielle Union tonight, and DeAndre Hopkins and Essence Magazine all come forward and say, we support you, continue your effort. Your thoughts on that?
Man, that means so much to me. Whenever people like that, people in a place of power stand up with me, that just gives me so much more determination that makes me keep fighting this thing.
Now, are you concerned about graduating?
Graduating, I mean, I want to walk across the stage. That's something I want to do. I've been here since pre-K. I feel like I've earned that.
Now, if you're there, if you're in school suspension, are you able to graduate? Are you able to march there?
Okay. So the thing with that is I can graduate, but I won't be able to walk across the stage with all my fellow peers.
And what does that mean to you to be able to experience that?
That's once in a lifetime. To walk that graduation stage in high school on my way to prepare for, life, that means everything to me.
And right now, you're in the 10th grade, right?
Yes.
So it's not time for you to walk, but you still want to eventually get there.
Yes.
So where do you stand with the hair issue? What does it mean to you as well?
I feel like, it's an issue that needs to change because, it's an old rule and it needs to be changed because the trends are changing, everything's changing, rules need to change. And I feel like they're not letting it change because of, people who want it to stay the same, if that makes any sense.
Right. And let's hear from the superintendent. He sent us a statement or posted a statement online today, Greg Poole. He said in this statement, we allow any legally accepted religious or medical exemptions to our dress code and have allowed such exemptions in the past. We will continue to be a child-centered district that seeks to maximize the potential of every child. Local control is sacred to this country, and we will not be bullied or intimidated by outside influences. When you hear something like that, that they will not be bullied.
It's funny, like, they're saying they won't be bullied. After what they've been putting me and my family through, they won't be bullied. No, we won't be bullied. We're going to stand up against them no matter what it takes.
All right, and a lot of people are supporting you, and a lot of people are behind you. Thank you guys for coming on The Factor, and keep up the fight, and we'll continue to follow you. Thank you.
Shout out to Isaiah Factor Show. That was a great interview. I really do appreciate your journalism. So keep it up, keep it up. Secondly, I want to shout out DeAndre, Arnold. Brother, you are handling this so eloquently, so manly, so well. And I'm so proud of you. To see brothers like this in the world, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And your parents are doing a great job at getting national attention. It brings tears to my eyes, y'all. because you never really understand what children have to go through. You know, there could be problems in the home. Then you got to go to school and deal with problems. It's crazy. It's crazy. Whew, sorry about that, y'all. I was getting emotional. But this does hit home for a lot of black parents and black people around the world, because natural hair has been a topic that has been all through our community. You know what I'm saying? Whether people call it ugly, nappy, coarse, you know, whatever. But this is a topic that we all need to discuss and sit down, because this can happen to your child or your child or your child, you know? So it's really, really unfortunate that this school has such an old rule that it is affecting children in the present day. I don't know when the rule was started. I really don't care about none of that, because like that young man said in the interview, it needs to be changed. It's not the same old world anymore. And if you're living in a place like that that still thinks in that old time setting, oh, I could imagine what other type of discrimination goes on in that area. This also reminds me of the young baby girl, Marion Scott, who was denied school pictures at a Michigan school. And when I read that story and looked into it, I thought that was terrible, because the young lady was so beautiful, so vibrant, so happy to go to school with her hair done, and she gets denied school pictures. School pictures. You're not the people who are paying for the pictures. Her family is. So how can you deny her pictures? Come on now. But notice how they let her attend school. Because just like with DeAndre, he's been in school since the 7th grade growing his dreads. But he was still able to continue to go, because they're getting paid off of these children. They're getting paid off of their bodies in a seat. And then you mean to tell me that you deny them what they've worked hard for? What you don't even have to pay for, like the school pictures? Come on now. So there is the Crown Act. It stands for Create a Respectful and Open Workplace for Natural Hair Act. It is the California law which prohibits discrimination based on hairstyle and hair texture by extending protection for both categories under the FEHA and California Education Code. It is the first legislation passed at the state level in the U.S. to prohibit such discrimination. State Senator Holly Mitchell was passed unanimously in both chambers of the California legislature, and it was signed into law on July 3rd of 2019. A couple other states have this law in place, but not everywhere. And that's very unfortunate that it took this long in 2019 to get a law passed that helps people's discrimination against their natural hair, something that grows out of their scalp, something that they can't help. And if they want to choose a style that works for them, it has to be under law. That's crazy. And that just goes back to show these old rules that have been in place since slavery still remain in places in certain areas. Come on now. Shout out to D.L. Hughley for sharing my post on Instagram. I really do appreciate that. That made me feel really good this morning that I'm doing the right thing. Shout out to you, brother. Like I said, shout out to DeAndre. And, you know, your story is touching a lot of people. And, you know, the world is watching. So hopefully this young brother can graduate. And it shouldn't even be a hopefully. He should be able to. But comment down below your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back with more.